The future has never looked so bright for Tesla. So I'm excited because we finally got through that struggle for survival stage. And now we're in the this gets really good stage. They don't understand. They're going to get wiped out by Tesla if they don't go all in on EVs.
Hey, I'm Steven and this is Solving the Money Problem. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. And damn, how much Tesla content do you want? Anyway, in this video, we're covering a little bit more of the mainstream finance media's coverage of Tesla's stunning Q3 2020 earnings. In this video, we'll see some content with Ross Gerber of Gerber Kawasaki, who some of you may have seen recently roasting the absolute shit out of some Tesla bears and short sellers. I'll add a few comments where I think it's relevant. So let's get into the video. But first, hey guys, if you live in the US and would like up to 2 free stocks valued up to $1,600 each, use the link in the description to WeBull and deposit $100 in your account. Each of these stocks will be a minimum of $8 in value. So if you suck at math, that is a 16% ROI on $100. Not bad. And if you're in Australia, the UK or New Zealand, you can get a free stock with stake, also using the link in the description. Let's get back to it.
Things were good already at Tesla, but now it seems they're getting better. The stock up 400%, more than 400% on the year, and it just reported earnings yesterday, and it was a blowout quarter, ladies and gents. It reported a fifth consecutive quarter of profits, beating analyst estimates handedly. Also said it remains on track to deliver that 500,000 vehicle number in 2020. Also want to highlight third quarter profit, 76 cents a share on an adjusted basis. Also handedly topped, again, the estimate there, 55 cents a share. So a lot of positives here for Tesla. I want to bring on our next guest to dig through the results of the quarter. That would be Ross Gerber, Gerber Kawasaki CEO. And Ross, it's good to have you back, my friend. I mean, when we look at the quarter, it's really hard. And I know this is our job, is to present the other side here and look at maybe some weaknesses, some things to point out. Really hard to find those here. But what did you say about the quarter we saw?
You know, I think your point is valid. I mean, a year ago, Tesla had, the issue of maybe running out of money. They had less than $2 billion in the bank, and we went up and talked to Elon about, doing a secondary or a convertible offering, which he did the next day. So he had already thinking about that. And now I'm looking on the books and they've got over 14 billion in cash, which is greater than their debt level. It's like the best financial position. They can totally fund now with the capital they have, all of the investments they're making without having to go back to the markets. And the future has never looked so bright for Tesla. So I'm excited because we finally got through that struggle for survival stage. And now we're in the this gets really good stage.
What a difference a year makes. Tesla 12 months ago, a little bit of cash, people still a bit uncertain about their financial future. Now a money printing machine stacking away $1 billion+ per quarter in free cash flow. They'll never need to go to market again to raise capital unless there's an unheard of, unforeseen, surprising new area the business goes into that requires a huge investment of capital. I think Tesla's very closely approaching a point where they're going to have so much cash stashed away they can't possibly spend it fast enough. And then they'll get to a point where they have to decide, well, we've got so much cash here that even if we need to make major acquisitions or investment in the future, we've got that covered. What are we going to do with these billions that just keep piling up? Should we pay a dividend? Should we buy back shares? I'm very curious, guys. Let me know in the comments. When Tesla does reach that stage where they're printing so much money, they can't possibly conceive of a way to spend it all ever, what will they do? Dividends? Share buybacks, or something else?
Yeah, in regards to that question, I mean, there are a lot of catalysts here. We've been talking about potential inclusion in the S&P 500 for a while here. It seems like one of those questions, since you can't point to the profitability thing, that's been answered. Again, 5 consecutive quarters of profits. But when you think about some of those question marks, it could be tied to the emission credits. Of course, Tesla has benefited from that. Revenues or sales from those credits fell to about 400 million, down from 428 million before here. So maybe that's a question mark when you think about inclusion in the S&P 500. Talk to me about what that might say about that idea, as it remains maybe one of the shaky elements here.
Well, I think that's sort of a unfair way to look at a company. Okay, so here's a company that makes an EV that knows that it gets a credit for taking this enormous risk and making a much harder vehicle that's better for the environment, where making a gas car is easy and it's horrible for the environment. So there's a reason why these credits exist. So to infer that that's not part of the business is I think disingenuous. I mean, the bottom line is that that's real cash that Tesla gets paid because other companies have failed at creating any sort of EV solution.
Spot on from Ross. Here's another way to reframe this whole question of regulatory credits, Tesla, blah, 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 blah. The only reason Tesla is able to sell these zero-emission vehicle credits is because other automakers are not currently producing the vehicles that they need to survive imminent bankruptcy. Okay? Forget about whether or not, just forget all that. If they're not making enough EVs to avoid having to pay enormous fines and thus spending up to $1 billion, $2 billion plus buying credits from Tesla, that means that they are not doing what they need to be doing to avoid going bankrupt this decade, okay? This is kind of important, like really important.
When they know they can, they just don't want to invest the money. So it's real money. They're getting paid this money, and they're going to get paid this money forever into the future while these companies can continue to dither with their ICE vehicles, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, we know the number's going down. It went down this quarter, and we know that other companies out there are increasing their own EV efforts. We saw that with GM earlier announcing more than $2 billion going into their own manufacturing.
Such a half-assed effort, Zach, though. Like, even still, these companies, it's such a half-assed effort. They don't understand. They're going to get wiped out by Tesla if they don't go all in on EVs.
Ross is singing my song here. Those of you who've been watching the channel for more than 3 microseconds will have heard me say countless times, Ford and GM, etc., all going bankrupt later this decade. And I'm not saying this just for fun. I'm going to be right. I'm going to pay somebody later this decade to clip every single instance of me saying that, and then discuss how I was able to see the inevitable writing on the wall while everybody else was so surprised to see these companies go out of business. What happened? Oh man, it was so hard to predict. How could we ever have known that these companies would go bankrupt years before they actually did?
Now, other companies are doing it. Rivian, Lucid, they're making nice vehicles that they're all in on EVs, and they'll be successful. But the GMs and the Fords, if they are out of time.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that too, though, because we did get the update. Of course, GM didn't reveal how much in terms of vehicle production or the actual numbers here. But when we talk about the GM, the EV Hummer, it's catching a lot of eyes here. I mean, the price tag is going to be north of 100,000 in the first run here. But saying that they sold out in reservations within an hour.
Just so we're clear, we're now looking at the Hummer EV reservations page. Now, the only edition that is sold out, so to speak, with full reservations is the Hummer EV Edition 1, the top-end deluxe limited edition version. But here's the thing. GM, as far as I'm aware, hasn't disclosed the number of reservation slots available. So this is absolutely meaningless. Was there 10 slots? Was there 1? Was there 69? Was there 420? Was there 1,000? We don't know. This is pointless, but it's smart marketing.
So maybe there's some strength, there's some truth to the idea that, you know, there's some sort of demand there on that front. But you say it's too late. What?
Listen, the demand for EV cars is off the charts. If these companies understood, like, just build EVs, people want them. Look at the Taycan, not even a great car, the #1 selling Porsche, but they're not even all in. I'm like, Porsche, dude, make a Cayenne. Like, what are you doing, right? Like, it's just like it's crazy to me, right? So like, the same thing with the Hummer. So how many Hummers can they make in 2022? My guess is less than 10,000. So this is a non-event. To say you've sold out a few trucks is a non-event, and nobody's going to buy a $120,000 truck when they can buy the same ICE truck for 50 grand. And so what GM is doing is trying to sell more ICE cars by making the EV so expensive that nobody's going to buy it. So it sells more ICE cars with higher margins.
I think that there is a grain of truth in this, but I'm not sure how much legacy automakers have been trying to make their electric vehicles suck shit versus the fact that they just can't make a car that doesn't suck shit. Now, of course, if they were to go all in and invest all of their resources, they'd have a much better outcome. But as Ross alluded to earlier, none of them are all in on EVs, and that's why I continue to say they're all going bankrupt by the end of this decade.
This is exactly what Volkswagen's done. It's exactly what Audi has done. They make crappy EVs so people buy the ICE cars instead. And they say, oh, well, we have an EV. Tesla's winning. They're just going to win big.
The numbers that they reported so far do continue to show that momentum growing here. We'll see what GM's able to do.
Everybody wants an EV. They're better cars and they're cheaper to operate. And that's irrelevant of full self-driving. And when trucks come out in 2 years, boy, that's going to be a whole nother industry to watch out for, that Tesla's going to just blow up.
Once again, Ross is spot on. If you guys haven't seen my video on the Tesla Semi, I'll put a card in the corner. Highly recommend watching it. He's right. The disruption is going to be absolutely enormous. And at this point in time, most people, I think, especially retail investors, aren't really thinking about that product so much in terms of Tesla as an investment because it's not really a consumer-facing product. Whatever, truck. But this is going to be enormous. The economics are just impossible to argue with. And as Tesla's Q3 earnings have shown, it's now also impossible to argue with the fact that Tesla is poised to absolutely dominate this decade and beyond. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm Stephen Mark Ryan. This is Solving the Money Problem, and I love you all. And don't forget your free stocks with WeBull and stake using the links below. Open a new WeBull account, deposit $100 and you'll get 2 free stocks valued up to $1,600. And stake, spin the roulette wheel, you'll either get Nike, GoPro or Dropbox.
Thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, if you have any ideas for future videos, let me know. I read all your comments. P.S. If you're still watching, you're awesome. If you'd like early access, exclusive videos, regular Q&As, our private Discord server and more, consider supporting the channel at patreon.com/solvingthemoneyproblem so I can keep creating content for you guys. There's a link in the description. You can now also become a member of the channel for some exclusive perks. To learn more, click the join button next to subscribe. And don't forget to check out our merch store. Either way, the best form of support is you being here and watching, so thanks again.